Welcome everybody again. With your technical issues solved. And will be, as you probably already read, there's going to be like some kind of introduction to the Wordpress. It's a very powerful. It started as a blogging platform, but now it's also useful for actually making and maintaining web pages also. It has many good qualities to it, and it's one of the most simple content management systems that exists. It's also very popular. It's like thousands and thousands of blogs and sites are running on the Wordpress. Yeah, okay, so before we start with some really practical work, because that's the idea, maybe like this first bit will be just like really slightly touching the Wordpress itself, and maybe I'll talk a little bit more. And like the next two meetings are definitely, you're gonna have to sweat and work on think and all this other awful stuff. Yeah. So, okay, let me start with a little bit of the internet thing. So, okay, we use it every day, and basically what we do is like probably visiting, like an average person would visit like 10 sites, which would include Google and Facebook and Twitter and probably pretty much nothing else. And there is also this huge amount of quantity of information that's available there. But let's keep this for a while, and let's just focus a little bit on very like really basic technical stuff that it's actually good to know. Because I don't know, we're all used to media like that. I don't have to explain how this is done. We all know the process. There are like some people who do the press. There are some people who put books around and stuff like that. But we are not really sure usually about how is it possible that we can actually see this web page. And okay, like basic. Okay, everybody knows. Okay, there are servers with some content on. And this content can be dynamically generated, and when you access it, you get some, actually something on your screen. And it may differ really in a big time from what somebody else could see. If you would like, everybody would like open their Facebook now, like each page would be different. Not two screens would be the same, but it's basically the same service. And how these things are done, it's like on the server there are some programming languages that taking care of making dynamic content, and the other thing that there is a database. And these databases can be like really enormously huge, like there can be even computers or servers, it can be like they can be as big as that house, like 10 times that big. Like really a lot of them. For things like Facebook, this insane huge websites. Okay, what we will do is like on a pretty smaller scale, but it lives in the same ecosystem. It also works this way, the same way. It uses like some really basic web technology. It uses something that runs on a server, and it uses a database. And basically, each time that you write something, this gets stored into a database. And when somebody requests your website, the software runs and looks into the database and arranges things the way actually you told them to do. So I'll just really briefly mention some of the technologies that make pages exist. Okay, so that's and they're not so so we can get something like that, you know, and you know just to show how changeable actually this content is. There's a lot of abracadabra, and that's the good thing about WordPress. You don't have to know anything about this. You know, but it's nice to know just a little bit so you understand how this stuff comes together. Basically, everything that you see in purple, it's HTML. Like HTML, it's a kind of like really simple markup language that basically what it does, it encloses parts of the content in bigger. It's easier to see now, right? So this is the basic idea of HTML. It's like, okay, you have like this H1 we will not learn the HTML, just it's one element, and here it contains some content, and this is the end of this element. So like parts of the content are embedded between two HTML tags. And they can have some other properties. This is very codified. It's actually not really hard to learn. But the basic idea is like something starts, there's some content, and there's end. And okay, so this and there's another piece of the content. Okay, fine. And this actually, when the browser renders this stuff, this translates into this and this. And there are two more technologies that actually resist on the client side, actually, like on our computer, on our browser. The second thing is this so-called CSS, it's cascading style sheet. This is basically also I can show you how it looks like, just to have a flavor of it. You know. It looks like this, and it's basically these are like different HTML elements or different how to say properties of these elements that you can basically apply a design to them. You know, so that means, okay, I can set the color. This A means it's an anchor, that means the link. And I can put some, okay, I want it to be this and this color. This is like basically an RGB description of color. It's like, okay, we don't have to go into details. And some other properties. And like then HTML and CSS come together, and the page can be rendered in a way that we want to. That also takes time, a little bit of time to learn, but I'm saying it's basically really just for a flavor, maybe to understand a little bit better what is going on also in the WordPress. And the last thing that resides on the client side or in the browser, it's basically JavaScript, which actually I don't have it. I have, well, okay, never mind. We can. Well, okay, I'm just gonna open this. That's basically from Google that tracks website. Okay, we can also, it's interesting sometimes to see what these JavaScripts they contain. You know, JavaScript have access to basically everything in the browser. That it cannot read our hard drive or so like that's we are quite safe. But actually it can get like huge amounts of data out, and this is like just going through. These are variables, and we can see they are tracking like, I don't know, like pretty much everything about what can be tracked You see, it's quite a lot. So that's basically this thing here. Yeah, it has some this you can see a lot of these functions. Never mind. I mean, you don't have to really remember a lot of it. Just keep in mind that like the third component of a website, it's basically JavaScript, which is really a programming language. It's like a real serious programming language, like very capable one. It can do a lot of stuff. It can implement like very different programming styles to JavaScript or so on. But basically, for what we need, it's maybe just important. Like if for example, if I click here, okay, some element disappeared and something else happened in the background. I mean, it's never mind. But this functionality that something happens when you interact, that something, I don't know, changes the color, that some notices appear, that things like that, or even stuff like, I don't know, just changing the color or so. It's that's the part when the JavaScript comes into play. And these three technologies are also, of course, like all the internet is made out of them. It's also the Wordpress is made out of them. So what WordPress does for us, it takes all this technical stuff out of the picture. So we don't have to know anything. Because we want to do some content, we want to write something, to put some images in, maybe some video, stuff like that. That's what we want. So we don't want to burden ourselves with, I don't know, like 1,000 lines of JavaScript to make something happen. I mean, it's fun to do, like for people like me, but it's totally not necessary for somebody who would just like to have some content on. The other thing is, I already briefly mentioned, there is also PHP, that's another programming language which basically, let's say, resists on a server, not on your personal computer, but it's on the server. And also the databases are not really on your server, just basically your computer is some kind of terminal to see the content that resists in some database and has some software attached to it. So
no, I just have a question regarding CSS and Java. These protocols that you talked about, is this a standard thing? Like, for example, if I want to move the mouse over the link and it changes the colors. This is a standard script, or let's say a program how to do this, or if I would to write a page from scratch, I would need to write this on my own.
Basically, a short answer would be yes, this is a standard. The reality is although different. It's been like 20 years since the internet came around, and what happened was at first, like browsers were competing with each other for market share, things like that. So they were implementing stuff quite, let's say, in a way that was not really compatible. So it's like a couple of last years, some agreement was made between these major browser producers to, okay, this went too far, so let's stick to some standards, and now it's like HTML5 and CSS3 and some latest version of JavaScript. Java is completely another story. That's basically a programming language that can be used on the internet, but it's more on the server side if used at all. JavaScript is a different story completely. So yes, there are some standards, but there's a lot of differences between the browsers, and like in now, the main problem is that okay, we can see this website like this, like that, you know, we can watch it on that television over there, and we also have this, everybody has this. So websites have to kind of adopt their look and feel towards like these different screen sizes. And luckily, again, WordPress also took care of it, so we don't have to deal with that much with design and issues like that. They already have, there is something that's called responsive design, which means that the same code can produce, can detect the width of the screen, and it can adopt the design to it. So it can look good on the television, and it can look on this, and it can look good on the telephone. It will look slightly different, but maybe if I just a lot of wires around here. Just a quick demonstration. Everybody probably heard about Waldwestbyte, this radio station, and they have a web page. It's fine. And now on this width it looks like that. And it's actually responsive, so if I change the width of the screen, it will adapt automatically. You see, and it gets a bit different, and there are some scrollers which are not, it's not really nice, but basically the content adapted to the width of the screen, and that's basically what is meant. You see, that's like the footer of the page became totally different. That's what is meant by responsive design. Oops. And the good thing is that WordPress already has some designs that you can just, with 2 clicks, you can just use them, and they are ready for to be like that or to be like that. And it's definitely good to have in mind that maybe not today, or maybe not in Slovenia, but in some parts of the world, or even now, or maybe a couple of years, like probably most of your visitors would be using some kind of mobile device.
Yeah.
It's most likely the telephone. And it's a good thing to have this perspective on when writing content, how to deal with text. It's like, I don't know, like 15 sentences on this screen are a completely different story than 15 sentences on a telephone. We'll see how to deal with these issues. Anyhow, the important thing is WordPress. It's already took care about that. It's fine. We don't have to work everything. It's just good to know, this thing that can happen. Because if we, I don't know, if we go to some other site, I don't know, RTV Slovenia, for example, and I don't think it's responsive actually. Oh yeah, it's not. See, the web page stays the same. You have to scroll left and right to see the content, and this is like really bad practice. Like nobody wants on the phone to do like what, and especially to have a sentence that goes beyond what you can see on the telephone. Even this thing here, which is navigation, like the most is an extremely important part of the web page. You have to scroll to get all the content. So maybe somebody who's just like on the bus, like bored, okay, fine, like we would go check and find, and he would be looking actually for, I don't know, weather, and it's here. So it's basically what it renders it out of the screen and invisible in a way. So that's why it's good to use this responsive design for whatever content you are basically doing on the web. And there are like maybe 2 or 3 technical things before we start with WordPress. it's okay. I already said that like basically all the content that you put into the WordPress gets stored into a database, and there is some software that basically tries to see what the user wanted. Like if the user clicked like on, did he wanted to see the home page? Did he wanted to see some archive? Did he wanted to see more of a blog post? Did he wanted to see a permanent link to some content, or so on? It's everything fine. It's already taken care with WordPress. We don't have to do pretty much. We don't have to do a lot about this. Basically, we can do little tweaks so the content is more searchable and nice towards the user, but basically the WordPress by itself does everything that's needed. So it's like this separation of presentation and content also means that we can change design, and that would, like all the content that would happen like that. Which is, okay, it's not entirely true when you come into the real world, but theoretically it's like you can change design just like that. And then the first real question, now with this a little bit of a technical background, is, okay, so you would like to have a blog, fine, what do you need? Okay, WordPress, it's first step, or one of the steps. Because basically what the WordPress is, it's called content management system. I think it's only fair to say that there are many other content management systems, which some of them are like really more powerful than WordPress, but they are also really way more complex than the WordPress is. Like you can learn to use WordPress in basically in 10-15 minutes. You know, okay, you need more time to get to some details or so, but and then you have some content management systems which are like really highly complex, and you can build, I don't know, like huge corporate websites with, I don't know, like 120 editors and thousands of contributors and stuff like that, but they are really complex. And one of them is Drupal, or Drupal, as some call it. And there are some other. If you go to Wikipedia and type CMS, and some of them are open source and free, and some of them are not. Some of them are really corporate. They are like based on different technologies and blah blah. And there's basically when you start looking at this ecosystem of CMS systems, there's really enormous amount of them, and basically the most practical thing one can do, because there's like you can spend a year, you know, just studying which one, you know.
So which one?
Well, we're on the WordPress workshop, so it's obvious.
But if WordPress wouldn't exist, then which one would you recommend?
Well, the one that would be like WordPress. I don't know, it's hard to say, but it doesn't exist. So. No, there are other options. I just wanted to stress out that there are other options, but it's for many reasons there is a good thing to just go for the platform that's very popular. That means there are a lot of people working on it. You know, there's also this thing, because you can actually, like WordPress has some basic functionalities, you know, like blog, sites, search, and that pretty much covers it. And then you might have some specific needs, you know, like you would like to have a calendar, or you would like to add a photo gallery, or you would like to add some other things, you know, like there's a million things that you might want to add. And you can actually extend the functionality of WordPress with something that's called plugins. And you can add, like, I mean, we'll get to that. You know, that's like basically more for the second part of this workshop, but we can at least briefly mention them. Let's have a look at them. So you can extend and add some other functionalities that you need. And that's really easy to do. I mean, it doesn't require any programming knowledge, you know, it's just point and click, more or less. So that's it. Or maybe if you want to do a bilingual website, that's quite usually something that you would like to do, or at least you would like to have some maybe some pages on the in bilingual, you know, like, okay, maybe you would be blogging in English or in Spanish or in French or no, but the main thing is it's good to know it's doable, and there's a lot of plugins for that. Like some of them are free, some of them are you have to pay a little bit for them. It depends. Like, but the free ones are usually good enough. It's and that's the thing. Yes, of course, the WordPress. It's an open source project. That also means that well, you can play with the code if you wish to. But most of all, it's free. They have different business model. They offer support. They offer different services. That's how they make money. But the product itself, it's totally, absolutely free. And even if they would decide to, I don't know, stop providing it for free, you know, it's open source, so some people would immediately make WordPress 2 or something like that. It would still be free. You know, so that's nothing to worry about. But there is something that you will need to run a blog. One option is just to go to the wordpress.com. That's an official website from WordPress. There are actually two, so this might be a bit confusing at first. But there's a wordpress.org and it's wordpress.com. So this .org, it's basically what you do here. It's you download WordPress and you install it on your server. What you can do on the wordpress.com, it's if you don't want to hassle with internet providers, a lot of stuff. But the easiest way, you can just go here. And actually, we'll do that later on. So I'll just click on Get Started, and it takes like really. Okay, you just sign up, and you get your subdomain. Actually, is that called? So it's going to be, instead of this sign up here, would be like the name of my blog, .wordpress.com. You can also actually host the blog there. It's not a bad option at all. And if you would like to have your own domain, so if you would like to buy, I don't know, mydomain.com, for example, you can do that, and you can use this WordPress.com. So they will host your blog on your own domain for a really small amount of money per year. It's not a big expense. That's one option, and the other option is that you run and install your own version of WordPress. That gives you like way more freedom with what you can actually do with the blog. But okay, for example, like this is my domain name. Just to explain a little bit, this is the last part. It's called top level domain, and that usually signifies either the type of organization you are. So you can have .org, .com, .net. These were the ones that when the internet started, and of course there are like these two letters, domain names, which are ISO code for countries. So if that would be .si, Slovenia, and so on. And basically, you can more or less you can buy whichever domain you want.
Can I buy in Slovenia a domain which is, I don't know, from the States?
Well, it doesn't. I mean, it would be really weird to buy it from Slovenia.
But is it possible?
You can just go. you know, if you, but for the States are easy. I don't know, let's say you want to buy from Reunion Islands, you know? Fine, it's gonna be impossible from Slovenia. Or you're gonna get some really nice person who's gonna provide you service and charge you an extra 100 euro for that, you know, don't. Just, you know, just find domain name register for the specific country that you're looking for, like be that United States of America if you want to. You know, just serve there and just buy it. I mean, you don't need to buy it here. You know, it's also you can run your server in, I don't know, Mexico. No problem. So, but anyhow, if you decide to run your own copy, then it's good to first I don't know, pay somebody like this 100 euro or so it will set you up things nicely. Because you need, okay, the server provider, you need a domain name, and okay, you need a copy of the WordPress, and you have to install it, and you need a database, and you have to connect the database with the WordPress. And there are then some other customizations that you can do. You know, I mean, you can customize much more if you run your own copy. But you know, it's really worth thinking about. You know, if you need just something simple, you know, you don't need your own copy. You know, you need your own copy if you're doing something that's like you want to have it to be really unique, to look like completely different, to make your own themes. You know, themes are like this kind of dresses of the blog. And stuff like that, then you might consider to run your own copy. Otherwise, for simple purposes, it's just fine to just use the default stuff. And it's okay. It's going to look like a lot of other blogs, but no, it doesn't matter.
What would be the browser that you recommend for us to use on the WordPress?
Basically, at this point, I would disadvise Internet Explorer for several reasons. Which most important one is that they are not playing nice with other browsers, and they're like way behind with web standards. So my personal choice would be Firefox, but also Chrome or Chromium if you're running Linux. No, they are equally good.
What about Safari, for example?
Safari, it's okay. But I mean, I would personally, you know, but I'm a heavy user, you know, I do web development, so I'm really touchy on like really small differences between browsers. It's fine, it's nothing wrong with Safari, you know, especially if you're using a Mac computer, it's kind of a default browser and it's fine. But I would probably still recommend to use you know, Chrome or Firefox. You know, but that's a bit of a bias from my side. You know.
But it's because...
Technically, it's fine. Safari is fine.
So if I use it, if I understand correctly, with me, if I use it to put on the WordPress website, for example, and I do it in Safari, it's okay, and if there's somebody else uses it in some other browser.
Yeah, it's fine. It's kind of course, it's fine. But that's the thing. I mean, the browser is basically, in this case, it's just an interface to a software that runs on a server. So it doesn't really matter if you're running it from which browser. I mean, you can also use Internet Explorer. It's fine. You know, it can happen. It's going to look a bit different on your screen than on everybody else's, especially if you're using some older versions like Internet Explorer 6 or something like that. Is this number 10 or 11 or what's the latest number? It's quite same, you know. It's fine. I still think that Firefox and Chrome are probably even the fastest. You know, they're really fast. But that depends, you know. Basically it's a personal choice for many reasons. But technically it's close to. And you don't worry, you know, if you start your WordPress from whichever browser, you can just easily look at it from whichever browser you choose, so it's not a problem.